So, with our movie this week, I was lucky that a local high school had actually they had put out that they're putting on the performance of Sister Act Junior on the stage. It's a musical version, even though this is pretty much a musical as it is almost. And I was actually able to go check it out. So it was a good laugh.
Oh,
Unfortunately, the leading man who played the lieutenant like got injured in a wrestling match or something, and between opening night and the second night, which is they only did two nights, and I saw the second night, so he was in a wheelchair, and they were having to like incorporate pushing him around in a wheelchair, which was interesting.
oh my God.
The
It's
other thing
horrible.
is that because this production was like, very low budget, it's a school that doesn't have a lot of money for their drama program. They weren't all mic'd. And so like some of the kids weren't projecting. So like you couldn't hear all their lines. And then the Monsignor, he did a great job, but he like I think he was trying to do the accent that the Irish accent that the Monsignor does in the movie. And so like you couldn't understand him for like a good portion of the performance. And then they were all pretty good singing. Like the mean girl that played Dolores, she was like belting it out, but she wasn't always on key. So that was kind of hard. And all of them honestly would hit flats. And I think it's because they didn't have a piano to play against. They were playing against like electronic music that was like digital for the musical, uh, which, is not their fault. But I think a piano probably would have helped keep them on key because, like, a lot of times a pianist can sneak in a note to like help the singer like stay on where they need to be. But they did like they had really good volume. They were very loud and they got their voices out, and some of them were incredible. Not all the songs went flat, so or sharp. Um, but for what it was pretty great. So, did you ever participate in music or drama or anything like that?
I did choir in like elementary school and middle school, but I am not very musically inclined. Ow, I'm actually a terrible singer. Like really bad. So no, not really. I tried to like do the flute and I did that for
Yeah.
like a semester and that didn't go well, but I tried.
Well, as a kid, did you do any like performing of like dancing or singing like a skit or music in front of your parents, or was that just a 90's kid thing?
I did do that. Like anytime
Okay.
my friends would want to sleep over, we'd create like a little dance and skit to like beg them.
This wasn't for social media at that time, right? I mean, I feel
No.
like, okay, I was like scared for a hot minute. I was like, oh no, because you grew up during the social media era. So I forget that that stuff would have made it on. Well, when I was younger, we would pick a song and perform it like on our front porch stage, and then we would have my mom and my stepdad at the time like sitting in lawn chairs, and I was constantly telling them just one more, and my mom would finally get fed up and like get up and be like, "It's great, but I have to get back to whatever she was doing at the time." Um, and so it was really funny because I was constantly holding her hostage to like see like my next performance. And movies like this growing up like only made me go harder at these performances. So unfortunately for her, but I will say that I did like nothing with these skills. So I am in a community choir now, but they do not let me dance in the back row. I've tried actually, but years of being in a choir actually made some of these choir scenes like rewatching as an adult, especially where Whoopi is like trying to get them started and she's like getting them to sing together, or how they were really bad in the beginning. Like that actually just made me laugh even more because it's like I know exactly what that's like because I sing with a variety of different talents and things like that. And sometimes if they're having an off day, they're hitting a really bad key, and you're like, oh, get out of here. Or when we're learning a song we don't know, sometimes we sound terrible. So
That's
it's
understandable.
it's pretty funny. Um, well, before we get into the movie, I'm Allison. I'm the millennial.
I'm Hannah, I'm the Gen Z.
And this is Millennial Meets Gen Z, where we revisit movies, TV shows, and pop culture moments that shaped the 90's, the with a little bit of millennial nostalgia and the Gen Z first time reactions and perspective. So our movie synopsis is when lively lounge singer Dolores Van Cartier, Whoopi Goldberg, sees her mobster beau, Vince LaRocha. LaRocca, I think, Harvey Keitel commit murder. She is relocated for her protection. Set up in the guise of a nun in California convent, Dolores proceeds to upend the quiet lives of the resident sisters. In an effort to keep her out of trouble, they assign Dolores to the convent's choir, an ensemble that soon turns into a vibrant and soulful act that gains widespread attention. So, early thoughts. What did you think of this movie?
So, just to preface, I rated this movie an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay,
Yeah,
make sure you keep those written down because I'm going to get them from you.
yes. Honestly, for being like a religious-esque movie, it was very good. I was expecting me to be a little bit off put by that because I'm not
Yeah,
overly religious, but
yeah,
I really liked that. Like, I liked how open some of the nuns were. I thought that was cute, and I liked certain scenes where they would like, escape the organization and just like be outside. And I was like,
yeah,
wait, they're so cute. They're so cute. But it kind of gave me a different perspective on how nuns work, I guess is the best way to say that, because
yeah,
I kind of presumed that they were very angry people. And obviously the superior nun was like that, but she wasn't like as bad as I thought she would be. I thought it would be more intense and kind of like terrible. But I felt
yeah,
like they weren't like as bad as I was expecting. And I was like, okay, if this is what a convent is actually like, that's not bad. Would I ever join one? Absolutely not. But it wasn't that bad. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And seeing Dolores in a nun outfit was so funny. Sister Mary Clarence, great name.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I did like it.
Well, this movie was written by Paul Rudnick, mostly. Paul wrote movies like The Addams Family Values, In and Out, and Stepford Wives. You'll hear In and Out a few times, actually, because several members of our cast were in that movie. It was directed by Emil Ardolino, who was known for directing Dirty Dancing, which everybody seems to know. He also directed things like He Makes Me Feel Like Dancing and Gypsy and Three Men and a Little Lady, and then a bunch of TV dance performances. So a lot of his stuff comes from kind of this dance background. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what drew him or why they pulled him for this particular movie. But that I thought that was a kind of an interesting note. So we open on St. Anne's Academy in 1968. A nun at the school says, "Who can name all of the apostles?" And a young Dolores Wilson says, "John, Paul, George, and Ringo." Do you know who John, Paul, George, and Ringo are?
I literally know nothing about religion. I didn't even like understand the question
So
that they were
this
saying.
joke went way over your head.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah.
those are the Beatles. She named the Beatles.
I so should have known that. That's embarrassing.
I just want everyone who's listening to this pod to start laughing right now because Hannah doesn't know the Beatles. That might be something that this is a 90s podcast, but apparently we're going to have to cover the Beatles at some point because the fact that that joke went right over your head it's sad. So she gets scolded and to go up to the blackboard and she starts to write the name of the apostles alphabetically. She writes John, Paul, Peter, because John and Paul are both apostles, and that's why the joke lands with the Beatles as well, because they're also two Beatles. Although they were not the same. The Beatles and the apostles are not the same people. Okay.
Okay.
And then Peter was also another apostle. And then she writes Elvis, which is obviously incorrect. First of all, it's not alphabetical. Elvis should have been written above John, not below Peter. Um, but the young Dolores is played by Isis Carmen Jones, who was in this movie, and then she was in one episode of Star Trek where she plays the young version of Whoopi Goldberg's character. And I'm going to butcher this because I'm not a Trekkie, but I think it's Guinan. Like Whoopi Goldberg is on Star Trek, and I'm so sorry for everyone who is a big Star Trek fan. My boyfriend, if he was here, would have told me how to pronounce that. Um, and I am embarrassed a little bit right now. So I hope that was it or close to it. But anyway, it's kind of interesting that she played Whoopi young in two things, and then that was like the end of her career.
Wait,
Um,
that's interesting. I've never personally seen Star Trek, but I have wanted to, because isn't it kind of like Star Wars a little bit, like that kind of vibe?
no,
Oh, I was really hoping it was. Okay, so maybe I don't want
Regards
to do
that
Star
it
Trek.
happens in, I mean, we've talked Star Trek a little bit before, but it is in regards to like it happens in space. But like there
Okay.
are, I think that the people who are Trekkies would be screaming at you right now because a lot of them don't like Star Wars, or they're not Star Wars fans, or they're just really never got into Star Wars. And Star Wars people like doesn't mean that they like Star Trek. Star Trek is about traveling in the future, other galaxies, and keeping peace and order and helping people out while traveling these other galaxies. Star Wars is all about the forces of good and evil and like fighting with your powers and obviously lightsabers and there's like a whole that's a whole other I feel like that's a whole other vibe as you kids would call
Okay.
it.
Interesting. I love Star Wars. I collect like little action figures of them. One of my many toys
Well,
I
this is
collect.
not the same.
That's very sad. Okay.
Okay, well, and just to really get back, okay, well, we've kind of gone off track a hot minute, but Star Trek also like was, I think this is what we've talked about on, I can't remember which movie we were watching, but essentially, we talked about it a little in the fact that it was like really instrumental in putting minorities on the screen in powerful positions where they were like working the bridge deck of their spaceship and they were like dictating orders or they were making decisions or they were in charge of the mapping or they were and so Whoopi was obviously in that because she was like a very important figure. She's been in a lot of movies, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but one of them includes The Color Purple. So things that are important to Black American culture, honestly, and Star Trek was really important for that. Star Trek also put women in positions of power in a show early. I mean, Star Trek came out pretty early for something like that, and that was not very common at all. And so the fact that it was like a really good show to kind of boost this view of like women and minorities being able to do these things and put that in the TV so that young children can feel empowered and see themselves, which is really good. Also,
Cool. Okay.
for one more nerding out moment, Lucille Ball, her production company did not want, like all production companies didn't want to launch Star Trek on TV. And she actually vetoed the board, went around them at her production company and put Star Trek on TV. So, and it was because of the content. And Star Trek is the reason that we have like so many things technology wise today because all these great little Star Trek nerds grew up to develop things like cell phones from the telecom communication devices that they had in there. So many devices that were talked or brought about in Star Trek are things that people have been making and developing to this day. So, um,
Oh, I might have to watch this
such a
now.
nerdy, and I'm not a Trekkie. I've honestly only seen like a handful of episodes, but for what it is, it's like a cultural thing. So I don't want you to get them confused because they're both very important, but one is like important for a different reason, and I wanted to address that. Okay,
Interesting. Okay, I might have to look into this then.
back to our movie. Okay, so the nun says, um, as to the young Dolores that she's hopeless and says, like, have you any idea what girls like you become? And then they kind of is like flip to see Dolores, the young Dolores fade out and the older Dolores and her backup singer singing on stage at a casino. They're singing a medley of Heat Wave, and then they're singing My Guy and I Will Follow Him. And then they go back to Heat Wave. It's like a really good medley that kind of goes from one song to the other and then back, and it's great. And none of the patrons are paying attention to that act. I was so surprised. I was like, that is amazing. So that's such a shame because they're great.
Yeah. No, they were great. Yeah, no, and I've never heard songs like that, and I did really like them. Is that like what was accurately performed during that time period?
I mean, a lot of different things were performed. That's just what her group was performing was they were kind of operating on the back of many women groups throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s that performed a variety of things. But I mean, these were throwbacks to like growing up that she was singing. She wasn't singing stuff in the 80s and 90s. So
Yeah,
um
that's cool. That's
yeah.
cool.
So before we go further, I will state that Dolores again is played by Whoopi Goldberg. Everybody pretty much knows that, but Whoopi Goldberg is an amazing actor. She has had great roles in Ghost, The Color Purple, as I mentioned, and all of the Sister Act series. In the 90s, she, like I said, was in Star Trek The Next Generation. She played in Made in America. She was in The Lion King as Shenzi. She was in The Little Rascals, The Page Master, Boys on the Side, Bogus, In and Out, which is what the writer also wrote, Rogerson Hammerstein's Cinderella, and many other things.
Ah,
So many other things, yeah. Dolores, in a room with her boyfriend, asks about him finally telling his wife it was over so that they could be together. And he didn't tell her and says he told the priest and said, and the priest told him he'd burn for all eternity. So she says, does this mean no? And he says, not no, just not now. And she kicks him out.
I hated that man, but that was so
Yeah.
woman power of her.
Right?
Like,
No,
okay, girl.
yeah. Now, Vince LaRocha was played by Harvey Keitel, who is known for so many things: Reservoir Dogs, Bad Lieutenant, Pulp Fiction, The Grand Budapest Hotel. He's also been in movies like Thelma and Louise as the police detective, which we've talked about that movie before. He's been in The Point of No Return, Monkey Trouble from the 90s, Get Shorty, U571, Little Nicky, opposite Adam Sandler, The Red Dragon, National Treasure, Inglorious Bastards, Little Fuckers, The Irishman. Honestly, he really not that much. I mean, there's not that many movies there. Seriously though, he's been in a lot of movies, often playing a mobster, and he's really good friends with Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
So,
okay. He's in
which
a
I
lot.
mean,
Jeez.
because they're both mobsters and a lot of stuff. But later, after the last show, she's backstage getting ready to leave with her backup singers, and they're asking why she's quitting because he won't leave his wife. And she says she's quitting for a lot of reasons. They'll get someone else for the act, is what she tells them. But I mean, she's kind of irreplaceable. But her boyfriend's goons show up and they bring a box with love. And so she opens the box, and it's a purple mink coat. And she loves it. Now, I'll say that on the high school stage production that I saw, it was a blue fur, and the Dolores in the cast says, "What the hell did he kill Smurf?" And I was laughing really hard. And she like didn't like the coat in the stage play, which was just really funny because she was like, "Why isn't it blue?" Um,
That is funny. Jeez. I didn't like the coat personally.
But it's like it was a bright late 80s, early 90s color of having like bright color. I mean, that was popular. Colors were big. This is why like the millennial generation, this is why they have a thing called millennial gray, because the millennial generation grew up with so many colors, 90s, 2000s. And then by the time we hit our 20s, all we wanted was like neutrals. And
Yeah.
so there's a millennial gray that we all painted our house. I still am painting my house gray. I will tell you, well, gray is my favorite color. So before everybody else caught on, uh I will probably paint most of my rooms gray because I just love it. And I find that all these other colors pop against gray. So like I put up all these pictures anyway. Okay, moving on. It's not about me. It's not about me. So she loves the coat until she reads the tag and it says it's his wife's coat, Connie LaRocha. And she decides to take it back to him and leave. So upstairs we see Mr. LaRocha, I can't remember. It's been 2 days. And his goons and his chauffeur is sitting in the hot seat as Vince grills him about talking to the police the night before for over 3 hours. Now, the goons include Willie, played by Richard Portnow. Now, he's known for Trumbo, Hitchcock, The Sopranos. He played Ray in an episode of a really known episode of Seinfeld. But he was also in Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams. He was in Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was in Say Anything. He was in Kindergarten Cop, Father of the Bride, Dinosaurs, Beethoven, Man of the House, Seven, Bogus, alongside Whoopi Goldberg, My Giant, and an episode of Boy Meets World. So before we head into the 2000s, you will for sure see this guy again.
Okay.
So one
Wait,
of the
that's
goons.
cool.
Yeah. The other goon was Joey, played by Robert Miranda, who was known for Midnight Run and Blue Streak, the movie, not the Cedar Point Coaster, and Eraser. He often played a wise guy mobster type as well, but he was in movies like Monkey Trouble, and he did an episode of The Pretender, which honestly is one of my favorite 90s shows of all time. So, for those of you who know that show, you know. Um, are you a doctor? I am today. That's what he says. Anyway. Dolores heads upstairs as he's practicing her goodbye speech, and she walks in on her boyfriend's goons as they kill the chauffeur. Vince asks her, "Is there a problem with the coat?" And she says, "No, it's fine, thank you." And he encourages her that it's all forgotten and kisses her and shuts the door. And it's going to say that they need to go get her for a talk. And Vince agrees. And if she runs, take care of it. So she drops the coat and runs, hearing that. The goons chase her through the casino. Eventually, she gets away through the basement, coming up outside of the casino, through a grate in the sidewalk, hopping into a cab, and they lost her. She heads into the police, who interview her and get more information. And Lieutenant Eddie Souther comes in as she's talking. Lieutenant Souther is played by Bill Nunn, who's known for his role in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. He's also known for his role in Do the Right Thing and a movie called Things You Do in Denver When You're Dead, which I never heard of that. But I thought that one was an interesting long title. Personally, I loved him in a show called Sirens, as Cash, and I was really actually sad that that show got canceled because that was a really good show. It was a
That
funny,
sounds like a good show, Sirens.
well, it's probably not what you're thinking it's about. It's about a group, it's a comedy about a group of like emergency responders, emergency
Oh.
responders. It's just,
Oh.
it's just a really funny, it's just a really funny show. Um, Anyway, they ask if she was the girlfriend uh, of Vince, and the detectives ask her that. And then they fill her in on some of the things that he's done, including making people go missing and the evidence and lack of what they have. They promise to protect her for a couple of months until they can get a court date, and she is freaking out about being in hiding for a few months. He says he'll put her in the last place on earth that Vince would look, which then leads you to what we see next, which is the church. A nun is playing the piano, not very well all the time. And Lieutenant Eddie and Dolores walk in, and he tells her everything that she needs to know in terms of she's going to be staying in this convent, and she freaks out and leaves. She's like, "Nope, no way." Lieutenant Eddie tells her that Vince has a contract hit on her for 100,000, and it's the safest place to put her. Vince knows people everywhere, but there is the point. Not at the church. She says, "What am I going to do here?" And he says, "Pray." Which I feel like is the answer given to her a lot. But we see the
Yeah.
Monsignor and the head nun, which we now later know as Mother Superior, or they also call her the Reverend Mother. And they're talking, and it's evident that Mother Superior is very against the plan of housing a witness and subjecting the convent to danger. Now, the Monsignor is also known as Bishop O'Hara. He is played by Joseph Marr, and he was known for In and Out, so he was in that movie as well. My Stepmother is an Alien and IQ, but he started his career on the soap Guiding Light, and he was in one of my favorites, Funny Farm, with Chevy Chase, which is a good movie, which honestly, I think we have the same mailman. I have the same mailman as in that movie. If you know, you know that movie. He was also in Mars Attacks, and he was in the Out of Towners. So anyway, well, apparently the Reno Police Department is promising both protection for the church and the convent and a large donation. And since her convent is in danger of closing, they kind of have to take it. And she says if they can afford to be so generous, so can we. Now, like I said, this is Mother Superior, and she is none other, no pun intended, than Dame Maggie Smith, who we've seen in the movie First Wives Club as Ganilla and in Hook now as Granny Wendy.
Oh
But
God.
others may know her for her role in Harry Potter as Professor McGonagall, Miss Violet Crawley in Downton Abbey. She's also in The Secret Garden, a movie we've talked about recently, Romeo and Juliet,
Oh, she's
Exotic
in
Miracle.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, she is. The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, Godsford Park, one of my favorites, and as well as my other favorite, Divine Secrets of the Yaga Sisterhood. Yaya. She is a treasure and is always poised, beautiful, and quippy. She is a baddie. I mean, she's just a baddie in everything she plays. You'll get the distinct impression of that as we see her in other things.
No, I did not remember that she was in Harry Potter, but yeah,
What? She's
no, I
Professor
remember.
McGonagall. Like, how do you not?
I haven't watched Harry Potter since I was like 9 years old. I like read all the books, I watched all the movies, but like I was like 9 years old watching Harry Potter.
Okay, I watch it like probably 3 times a year. I've read all the books and yeah, that came out when like the books were coming out as I was the same age as Harry Potter, and so before the movies. And so yeah, I got hooked early. Okay. She gets one look at Dolores in her sequins, gold coat, lacy top, pleather with big hair and tassel earrings and says, "Excuse me," and politely shuts the door. She gives this great look to the Monsignor and says, "Absolutely not. I could not possibly." And he says, "Think of it this way. She's the ideal prospect for rehabilitation." And she says, "That is not a person you can hide. That is a conspicuous person designed to stick out." And he says, "You have taken a vow of hospitality to all in need." And this is my favorite line when she looks at him and says, "I lied."
I did love her. I won't lie, I did love her. She was
Then
great.
she lets out a sigh and goes back into the room. The Monsignor tells the lieutenant that everything's in order, but Dolores begs to differ. "This woman does not like me." He says, "Behave yourself," to her and leaves her with Mother Superior. Mother Superior says, "What is your name?" And Dolores answers, "Dolores Van Cartier." She asks, "Is that your real name?" And Dolores tells her that it is, and she's a singer. Dolores thanks her for taking her in. She says she also respects those people, the nuns. You know, they're married to the big JC. They're his old lady, which just cracks me up.
I have it written down as a quote that I loved.
Mother Superior tells her they'll protect her, but she must obey the rules and that she will not tolerate disruption with their communion. Dolores says she's the good guy and she'll stay out of her face. Mother Superior says it's almost lunch and she freshens up. Now, Dolores changes and Mother Superior grabs her clothes. What I didn't understand is that she removes her bra, even though nuns still wear bras. So I don't know if it was because it was like brightly colored and maybe they have something more demure that she wears, but I was just like, they do wear bras. I don't know why. Um, I don't
So
know why.
weird. Wait.
It was, I was just, that's the one thing I noticed. I was like, why would you take that off? Um, but she's instructed to get her suitable attire from the cabinet next to her. And we hear Dolores scream as she's faced with wearing the nun outfit and the habit, the robes and the habit. And Mother Superior says, "People want to kill you. Anyone that's met you, I suspect." And she needs a disguise and will tell no one. She will now be known as Sister Mary Clarence, Clarence as in Clarence of Concordia, which I think is made up because I could not find it on Google. And somebody can feel free to correct me in the comments, but I think that was just a made up written thing. 3 vows a nun must accept: the vow of poverty, the vow of obedience, and the vow of chastity. She introduces Mary Clarence from a more progressive convent. Um, and Mary Patrick is the first to welcome her and suggests that she give the blessing. It's like, don't you hate those people that are like, "Oh, you're new? How about you do the thing?" I
Yeah.
would be like,
Yeah.
"I want to kill you." But Dolores actually agrees to it. So now my apologies in our last pod. I'm pretty sure I accidentally called her Sister Mary Catherine, which was my mistake. It's Mary Patrick. But Mary Patrick is played by Kathy Najimy, who we know from her role in Hocus Pocus. Some of you may know her from her role in Peggy on King of the Hill, but I know her best from playing Christy Alley in Veronica's Closet, or playing opposite Christy Alley in Veronica's Closet. And she's been in tons of movies and shows, and she's done a lot of voiceover work as well. I actually, if you haven't looked at her IMDb, I feel like since you like a lot of animated things, Hannah, you would probably know her from a lot more than you think.
Uh,
Well, just like in Cool Runnings, we have another great new prayer. And this one is from the new Sister Mary Clarence, aka Dolores. Bless us, O Lord, for these thy gifts, which we are about to receive. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of no food, I will fear no hunger. We want you to give us this day our daily bread, and to the republic for which it stands. And by the power vested in me, I pronounce us ready to eat. Amen. This one is even better than Rub a Dub Dub. Thanks for the grub. Dolores goes to eat and says it tastes terrible. It looked terrible too, and almost swears when Mother Superior cuts her off and suggests they eat in a vow of silence because only in their silence their prayers are answered. And Dolores says, "Then you don't have to eat this food." Silence begins now and ends at sundown, she says. But Dolores says, how can you eat this stuff? It's terrible, breaking the vow of silence. And Mother Superior suggests she enjoy a ritual fast instead, and the nuns take away her food. Out in the garden, the nuns are quietly attending to the vegetables, and Dolores thinks about stealing a tomato, but the nuns are watching her. And then she does so when the bells toll and everyone heads inside, turning their backs. She steals a tomato. Outside the precinct, we see Vince and his goons and his lawyer coming out of the building after having been there with the police for 6 hours. Lieutenant Eddie, driving by, stops and tells him he should be scared. Vince realizes he's being cocky. He must have Dolores, and they've got to get her back. He ups the hit on Dolores to $250,000, $250,000, dead or alive, and sends her headshot to every contact that they have. Meanwhile, Mother Superior brings Dolores to her room or her cell where Dolores will sleep. She says that it's out of the Stone Age, and Mother Superior tells her to go to bed, but it's 9 p.m., and Dolores says, what am I going to do? And Mother Superior tells her to think about her life and direction, or lack thereof. And Dolores says before this, she had a life. She had friends. She had clothes that fit. And Mother Superior quickly reminds her that she had a failing career and a married boyfriend that wants her dead. She says, God brought you here. Take the hint. Did you just sticky fingers? Booger, sticky booger? You see you do the sticky booger?
Oh, yeah. Period. It means slay. I
It
love
means
doing it.
play. For those who don't know, I sent Hannah this video of probably a millennial or a Gen X like responding to or reacting to a video of someone doing like the two fingers together. And he goes, what is sticky booger? Somebody needs to tell me what sticky booger is. So now from now on, every time you do that, I'm gonna be like, did you just sticky booger?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't understand where is this like a clapping or like we used to snap. That was like in the 70s, like it used to be cool to like snap. Is that what maybe it came from? And
Yeah,
you,
it's kind of like that. It's kind of
your
like,
generation
oh,
just
this is
taps.
like good. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
like a
like
positive.
okay, but it does remind me of that commercial with Matthew McConaughey, and he's like, it looks like he's rolling a booger in his fingers as he talks about the car that he's in, like a Cadillac or something. Millennials will know what I'm talking about. As the
What?
older, it looks like we're gonna have to put that one up. Make a note of that because we'll have to put it out there. The Matthew McConaughey rolling fingers because he goes like this. So anyway, it looks like, and everybody made a joke that he's like, I think even SNL did a skit where he's like rolling a booger on his fingers. So yeah, so sticky booger and booger rolling,
Yep.
they're related. Okay, well, back to the movie. So she gets woken up at 5 a.m. by Sister Mary Patrick. At Mass that morning, Dolores is falling asleep because she had just gone to bed not long before 5 a.m. And Monsignor says, where is everyone to a very empty church Mass? Then the choir, who's been prepping their music all week, gets started, and they are bad. They're not together, and they're flat, and the pianist is hilarious, and no one looks impressed. So back at the police station, the cops have taken Dolores's headshot. They found it at a pawn shop with the words underneath, please find our adored angel. We miss her so. 250,000 dead or alive. It's like
That's terrifying though. I was thinking about it and I was like, if I had a hit out for me, I don't know what I would do. I would not go to a convent, but I don't know what I'd do. That's terrifying.
yeah. I just think it's funny that they're like, please find our angel, dead or alive.
Dead or
Uh,
alive.
it's like that seems so stupid. Anyway, the cops ask where he stashed her, and he says he won't even tell the Pope, which is hilarious because it's a hint to where she's actually stashed. Dolores is talking with the nuns about her old convent, the Sisters of the Moonlight in Reno. She said it was a relaxed place. Sister Lazarus talks about her past convent in Vancouver, which is the complete opposite. Out in the woods, not modern, no electricity. There's cold water and bare feet. Those were nuns. She says, this place is a Hilton. Now, Sister Lazarus, I love. She's played by the late great Mary Wicks, who we've seen before in Little Women as Aunt March, but she's also known for her role in White Christmas, which is a classic Christmas movie, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. She's also in the Sister Act sequel. She's worked alongside Lucille Ball in The Lucy Show and Here's Lucy. She's been on the Danny Thomas Show. She was in The Music Man. She was in a great movie I've mentioned before, How to Murder Your Wife, alongside Jack Lemmon, who is from Grumpy Old Men. We saw him in there. And when she was cast in Sister Act, she had just finished her role as a nun already in the Father Dowling Mysteries, which are great. That's a great show as well. It's she and Father Dowling solve mysteries, but the nuns help Father Dowling solve mysteries. I think he does the lace of the work. And I can't remember what her role is in that show, if she's like helping or if she's like potentially catching them, but it's been a while since I saw it. Sister Mary Robert, the youngest of the group, says, when did you get the call? And Dolores says she got the call in Reno, working with sinners and hookers, etc. Even Buckwheat Bertha. When Mother Superior stops the conversation and we hear the song Rescue Me by Fontella Bass as Dolores is mopping the floors, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the car, dancing, scrubbing graffiti off the gates outside. And then she's petting a dog outside the gates. Now she sneaks into the office and calls the lieutenant. She says this is her absolute nightmare. But he says he's got issues and witnesses ending up dead and they have a leak in the department. So she has to stay put. Mary Robert pays Dolores a visit to her room later, bringing a Daisy alarm clock, which was really cute, set for 5 a.m. And it says, out of bed, you Daisy head. And she said,
that was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. And she says it always made her laugh. And so she brought it to Dolores because she's probably lonely. And Dolores actually loves it. Now, Sister Mary Robert is played by Wendy McKenna, who's known for State of Play and Air Bud. And she's also in the new Matlock, which is a great show. Mary Robert confides that she has something inside and that where she can shine and be herself or she'll just burst. And Dolores says she really does understand that. Dolores later sneaks out of bed and Mary Roberts follows her, and then Mary Patrick follows her, and they go across to the bar. Dolores puts music on the jukebox, scolds a young man, and orders a Coke. When the sisters show up, Mary Patrick plays Gravy on the jukebox and goes to dance. They leave, and a patron says, if this turns into a nun's bar, I'm out of here, which I love that part.
When they get real though, yeah.
Yeah. I think I would actually go to a nun's bar. I feel like, yeah, this is great. When they get back to the church, Mother Superior is waiting for them, and Mother scolds Dolores. The streets are no longer safe for the sisters. The robes no longer protect them. The walls do. This must stay inside the walls. They must stay inside the walls. She then says, I'll ask the Monsignor and Lieutenant to find a different solution for her. Dolores says, don't send me away, pushing for forgiveness and asking for a task. And Mother Superior says, you may stay, but your activities are restricted to a single task. Join the choir. And Dolores is like, no, they are bad. And at choir practice, Mary Lazarus hands Dolores music and gets started, but Dolores doesn't start singing, and she suggests she sits this one out. But it's asked if she has a background in music, and Mary Lazarus gets defensive that Reverend Mother is looking to replace her. But the choir asks her for her help. Now, I do want to point out that one of the nuns in the choir, she's in the front left as the viewer, is Ellen Albertini Dow. who many know her from her role in comedies like The Wedding Singer, where she plays Rosie and sings in that movie too. She plays Grandma Mary Cleary in Wedding Crashers. She's also in Patch Adams with Robin Williams and a couple episodes of The Golden Girls. She's been in a lot of comedies though. She plays in a lot of comedies, usually a very old, crazy lady. Um, yeah.
Hey.
Another nun in the group is Pat Crawford Brown. And she has popped up in a lot of TV shows, including 90s shows like Step by Step, Murder, She Wrote, The Wonder Years, Dinosaurs, Mad About You, Sister, Sister, Murphy Brown, The New Adventures of Superman, Married with Children, Home Improvement, ER, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Ellen, The Pretender, Coach, Caroline in the City, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, The Drew Carey Show, Malcolm and Eddie, Suddenly Susan, Third Rock from the Sun, and NYPD Blue. That is just a grouping of all the 90s shows she was in. I mean, and she was just in a lot of TV shows. Like she'll do like one episodes here or there, two episodes, four episodes, different times playing different characters, but she's like a recognizable face. She also did movies like Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion and Forces of Nature and Jack Frost. So yeah, she's been in a lot of different stuff, so you might recognize her. The choir votes to have Sister Mary Clarence take over, and Sister Mary Lazarus says mutiny. And she'd like to see them do better. Now, I have to say, in the high school production, they had the perfect person playing Sister Mary Lazarus. Like, she kind of looked like her with she's got like a naturally resting, like stern, not bitch face, but stern face, bee face, sorry, but stern face. Um, and she was such a good character. But Dolores gives instruction and she says, where are the basses? And then she actually puts them together, which they should have been already. And then where
Yeah.
are the altos? Put those together. And then where are the sopranos? Put those together. She says, basses give me a D, altos are an F sharp, and sopranos give me an A. Now, very shocking. Sister Mary Roberts is too strong, so they told her to get down and out of the rafters. Or sorry, Sister Mary Patrick is too strong, so they're like, "We're gonna move you to a different part, and get you down out of those rafters because she's too loud as a soprano." They also pull Sister Mary Robert up front, and they see her opening her mouth, but nothing comes out. So they tell her to imagine she's in a busy room with lots of noise and she needs to be heard all the way at the back. And she starts to sing a little louder. And then Dolores like pushes on her abdomen, which is essentially where you're supposed to be singing from. And she sings nice and loud.
I
Now,
was wondering about that because I've never, obviously not being musically inclined, I wouldn't know that.
yeah, so when you do sing, you sing from your diaphragm. So you're like singing from your abdomen. So you're supposed to be getting your air from down here and your power from down here. Because if you were just singing from your up here in your chest, it's going to be very breathy. You're going to have shorter breath. You got to use your whole abdomen and all of your muscles in order to get the best volume and sound out of yourself. And then also have really good breath control.
Oh, okay.
Um, so Sister Mary Roberts, this is not actually Wendy McKenna singing. So her singing was actually dubbed with the voice of Andrea Robinson. She's an actress known for her role in Doc alongside Billy Ray Cyrus, but she did a lot of other singing for Disney, including some Disney sing-alongs. So she was hired to be the voice of Sister Mary Robert. Now, Dolores says the next step for the choir is listening to each other. She says they got to rehearse every day, and we end up we hear them singing scales and practicing. The next Sunday, the Monsignor says, "Welcome the few but faithful." The choir elected a new director and introduces Sister Mary Clarence, and she directs them in "Hail, Holy Queen," and the choir starts singing, and they're great, and everyone is impressed. And then they do a next verse with clapping and some more like beats to it. And people outside are hearing the music start entering the church. Mother Superior isn't happy though. Girl groups, boogie woogie on the piano. What were you thinking? And the Monsignor bursts in and thanks the Reverend Mother for this choir performance that he enjoyed and brought people in. And he was going to tell the Archbishop. Dolores says Reverend Mother wants them to go out and meet people, which Monsignor actually also approves of, and to Mother Superior's dismay and fear, because she actually did not want them. You gotta love peer pressure in that situation. So the nuns
I don't
take
know
to
what she did the entire time. She's just peer pressuring the.
She's just like pushing for what she wants. I mean, sometimes the girls gotta do what girls gotta do. So the nuns take to the streets, and we hear the song Just a Touch of Love, and they're cleaning, they're painting. Sister Mary Roberts and Mary Patrick are selling raffle tickets outside the porn shop. They start taking down the gates. They start talking to people on the streets, and now they're starting to get funding. Some nuns fix cars. Dolores plays double dutch with the kids. They feed the community. The nuns painted over the graffiti with murals. They dance with the girls on the street, and they play in the streets outside with the kids. The good that they're doing lands on the news, and Dolores tries to avoid the camera. It's even playing at Vince's house, but he luckily doesn't see Dolores's face. Lieutenant Souther does how come I see you on TV? As he had gone down to visit her at the church and says she needs to lay low. And the lieutenant ends up staying for the service, and they have a very full house now. The choir begins, and they change the song My Guy to My God and perform that, which was adorable, and everyone loved it. Monsignor said the good news, the Pope has heard of their choir, and they want to come visit on Sunday. Mother
That was
Superior,
crazy. Like
I know.
what?
Mother Superior suggests they go old school music for the Pope's visit and puts it to a vote. And the consensus is that Sister Mary Clarence selects more worldly music, however inappropriate, as Mother Superior put it. Lieutenant Souther calls Dolores. The trial is in a couple of days, and she's happy, but she's also disappointed. She finds out Mother Superior says she submitted a resignation because she's obsolete now. And Dolores disagrees, but Mother Superior is like adamant. She says she got the sisters' hopes up and they'll get a rude awakening eventually, and then Mary Clarence will be gone and can't help them. Mother Superior says I'm a relic and I've misplaced my tambourine. Like she doesn't really fit in the choir and she doesn't get along with that whole scene. The sisters get Mary Clarence some ice cream and sit around and talk. Back at the precinct, Lieutenant Tate gets the approvals meant for Lieutenant Souther, claiming that Souther already left, and it includes a donation paper to the church for $10,000, signaling that might be where Dolores is hiding. And he calls Vince LaRocca, I'm not going to get that right, and gives him the address. Finding out when coming back in to get his keys, Souther punches Tate and says, "Here's our leak. Plug him up, boys." Lieutenant Souther hops a plane in a car and heads to the church. The nuns are at rehearsal. He heads upstairs with the choir and pulls her aside and says, "Vince knows that you're here." Dolores doesn't want to leave because the Pope is coming tomorrow. She goes into the bathroom and ends up disappearing out the other door, but gets caught by the goons. They grab her and put her in, her and Sister Mary Roberts into the car. At a stop, Dolores pushes Mary Robert out of the car, and the lieutenant picks her up. Back at the convent, the nuns are wondering who would steal a nun. And Reverend Mother says she's not a nun, she's a lounge singer. She witnessed a vicious crime and has been hiding out in our convent. And they decide they have to save her. We see the nuns at an airplane hangar talking to the pilot. Now, this is one of my favorite scenes. The pilot says it'll be $1,500 to get to Reno, and they don't have it, so he can't fly them there. Sorry. And the nuns start praying as he's looking over his craft. Mother Superior in prayer says, "Father, do not blame this young pilot for abandoning us in our hour of need. When he stands before you on the day of judgment, do not send him to hell." And Mary Patrick says, "Please, please do not treat him with the same disregard as he's treated us." And Mary Roberts says, "Just because he can't show charity, try not to leave him without rewards when he asks for them." Mother Superior continues, "We know it is easier to answer the prayers of a man who has answered the prayer of others. But if he should come to you for relief of pain," and Mary Roberts says, "such as rheumatoid arthritis, loss of hair, neck polyps," and Mary Lazarus says, "Don't leave him bald and yowling in despair." Mother Superior adds, "Watch over him as he refuses to watch over us. And if you cannot, we know you have done your best. What goes around comes around." And the pilot takes them because there is nothing like Catholic guilt to win you over.
Accurate.
There's where your sticky booger symbol should come into play. Okay.
Period. Like honestly, I will say I'm so glad he helped them out. And if I was like in a position like that, that would work on me too. Not even because like whether or not my beliefs, just because I would be like, okay, they're sitting and praying. Like what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Just out of confusion.
Well, Vince has Dolores held hostage and he tells her he gave her everything. And how does she repay him? But Dolores is channeling her inner nun and is calm, collected, and acting not really scared. Vince tells his goons to waste her, but the goons can't waste a nun. Vince says they have to, but the guys can't seem to pull the trigger on a nun. So they tell her to take off her habit and robes. And she kneels and prays for them. And when she says amen, she hits them in the nuts and takes off running with the goons on her trail, shooting at her. Meanwhile, the nuns have taken over Reno. They find the Moonlight Lounge and are looking for Dolores. Mother Superior tells them to blend in, which is hilarious because they're dressed as nuns, so they're not going to blend in. The nuns get to Dolores just as Vince is about to grab her, and they all split up and confuse the bad guys, so they're playing Follow That Nun. Lieutenant says to seal off the exits as the nuns take off out the back, and Vince grabs the goons and they follow after her. They catch up as all the nuns are about to leave out the back door. Vince goes to shoot her, but initially, because she's a nun, he can't. And just as he comes around to being about to shoot her, the lieutenant shoots him in the arm. Dolores is about to tell Vince off, but instead she says, "Bless you." And Mother Superior thanks her for that. Mother Superior tells the sisters they have a concert to do. We learn that Mother Superior is no longer leaving because she and Dolores both can't leave. Back at the concert for the Pope, they sing, "I will follow him wherever he may go." And very sweetly, then they rock out, "I love him, I love him, I love him." And where he goes, I'll follow. And they get a standing ovation even from the Pope. And I apologize for my singing today. My throat is actually really sore.
No, that was good. I'm impressed.
Well, it was off on part of it, but that's okay. Then we hear the song Shout as we see Dolores on magazine covers and the credits roll. So, what I miss?
So my notes are actually pulled up this time and my phone's on. Well, they're always pulled up, but my phone's always off. I love the quote, as I mentioned, "You're married to Big JC." Love that quote. I thought that was great. So I have a question. Is them going by like Sister Mary, whatever, because of Mother Mary?
Yes, they're named
Okay.
Mary because of Mother Mary. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. My overall, like, thoughts on the music, it did give musical vibes, but I was expecting it to be like slightly annoying and it wasn't. Like I wasn't like super familiar with the music, but since
She's
it
a
was like
lounge singer. She's not going to
yeah,
bring like boring music to you. She's going to bring like good oldies to you.
yeah. No, it was good and I actually enjoy that because I'm not like a huge musical person, but I did enjoy the fact that it was about a choir and it wasn't just singing for absolutely no reason. You know
Yeah,
what I
even
mean?
the Latin song with the Hail Holy, whatever it was, and they're like, "Oh Maria,"
Yeah.
and they're like clapping and they're like singing and rocking out. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
No, it was cute. That was cute. I have it written down. Nuns go to Nevada. Okay. I don't even know what that means. Oh my God,
Reno,
her.
because Reno's in Nevada.
Oh my God, wait, duh. I was like, I don't know what this means. Like, why did I clarify that? No, okay. Her and the Reverend Mother hugging made me so happy. I
Yeah,
loved that. Like when they like squashed the beef, that was so cute. And honestly, their beef was so stupid, but I totally understand why Reverend Mother didn't like her because she was putting the covenant in a bad place.
and
And
then
like that's scary.
yeah,
And her
she's there
having
to protect the convent.
yeah, and like honestly, her doing that made me have a newfound respect for nuns because the fact that they were willing to help her, even though it put them in such danger, is crazy.
Yeah,
So I love that. I have it written down. Stupid man went to jail. Period. F Vince. F Vince. Hated him. I mean, obviously, but
I'm supposed to like
I,
him, so
yeah,
yeah,
no, I just hated him as like a person, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was I didn't really respect Dolores for being with a married man, but also I can't imagine like what he was telling her behind closed doors, like about how terrible his marriage was. And I also, when he gave her the mink coat of his wife's, for whatever reason, I like took that as him killing his wife.
oh no, he didn't kill his wife. He
No, I
just
took
took
that as
her
him killing
makeup.
his wife and being like, oh, like I killed her. Here you go. Like that.
I killed
That's
her. Here you go.
that's how I like took it. So the
Here
entire movie, I was like, is his wife dead? Like, where the wife at? Like, what's
my
going on?
wife. At.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, I did not mind Reverend
Oh,
Mother. I really actually did like her. I
oh,
have
okay.
her written down. I don't mind the main nun. She's a baddie.
I mean, like, I think as a kid, I thought Maggie Smith's character was just like such a jerk. Like, she's just so stern. She's like the adult. She's the, and you watch it. But as an adult, I'm like, and knowing Maggie Smith from other movies and shows, I'm like, this is her character all the time. She
Yeah.
plays someone she's got like a little bit of grace and a little bit of specific rules that she follows. And maybe everybody doesn't follow those rules, but she also, I mean, she does have a kind heart, but you have to get past a little bit of a rough exterior, and she's very sassy. So um yeah, I do appreciate her more than I did as a kid, because as a kid you're just like, Whoopi's the best and this lady sucks, and but later you kind of see her come around too, so it's nice.
Yeah. No, I did. I did really like her. Overall, I really liked the movie, especially more than I thought I would. So I think I'm gonna watch Sister Act 2. I think I'm going
Yeah.
to. I think that's gonna be my task today, and we'll let you know what I think. I'll send you like a little rating.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
it is a really good movie, and honestly, a lot of people will agree. I mean, I think it's probably the better of the two. It's just because it builds more, it adds more. It's not a sequel that's on its laurels. It definitely has a purpose and a story and great music. And I think the music like imprinted on an entire generation of people. So I do think that you're gonna like it. But let's talk about the facts of this one. So apparently Sister Mary Clarence was kind of partially inspired by a real nun. As part of his research, the screenwriter Paul Rudnick actually had visited Regina Loudis Abbey in Bethlehem, Connecticut, and he met Mother Dolores Hart. Hart had been a Hollywood actress, a singer, and a dancer, starring in movies such as Where the Boys Are and King Creole. And though she left the industry to become a nun when she was just 24, she is a voting member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences to this day. So, I thought that was actually really cool. Now, Whoopi had always wanted to play somebody named Dolores, so she was like really glad that they actually reused that name. And this was actually her singing. So Whoopi sang in this movie. Now, the role originally was set for Bette Midler, who was in Beaches and who we saw in Hocus Pocus. So, alongside Kathy Najimy. Now, Midler turned it down, and honestly, that's such a good thing that she did, because I can't have imagined this movie with anyone but Whoopi. I feel like as much as Bette Midler is like great musician and great in movies, I just don't think it would have been as good. I really, really don't think it would have been as good had Whoopi not been in it. And I think a lot of people kind of agree with that. But because of this huge change of the character, the script actually ended up needing an overhaul, because he wrote it to Bette Midler, and it needed to be completely rewritten for Whoopi Goldberg, really, to be more to her character that they then developed with her. And so Carrie Fisher, who you'd know from Star Wars as Princess Leia, yeah, and she also helped out the Hook script, which is why she's like in the background in one of the Hook scenes. Um, but she helped doctor it a little bit. Was known for doctoring a lot of scripts in Hollywood. Also, the help of Nancy Meyers and Robert Harling helped out with that script. So by the time the movie was released, like the script, Paul Rudnick actually felt like the script was like far from what he had written, and so he actually credited it under a made-up name, Joseph Howard, as the writer instead.
Oh, what the
Um,
heck?
but that's, it's still his storyline, just a bunch of things were kind of changed in there, and they were contributing writers to that. So, and then Kathy Najimy actually based her character on a Entertainment Tonight TV anchor, Mary Hart. So this was like an anchor on ET TV, and she had seen her on the TV one night and was like, that's my character, like that's who I'm gonna be, essentially. And
That's
so
kind
she
of
kind of
cute.
she like took that whole like very bright personality and like goofiness and turned that into her character. So
It's cute.
Now, I do want to turn you on to a nun you might love. Her name is Sister Simone Campbell. She is a Catholic sister, lawyer, and lobbyist, and executive director of the network. She belongs to the Sisters of Social Service. She's an advocate for social justice, and she led the Nuns on the Bus Project, which is a Catholic advocacy group tackling a bunch of different issues. They focus on life issues, like things involving life, like hunger and housing and defending the vulnerable. Um, they are an advocate for holistic support systems that protect people at all stages. So, she is a baddie in her own right, and she's a real person. And I've met her, and she was really cool. So I definitely recommend at least like looking her up because I think it helps give a new perspective of uh, nuns.
Yeah.
Once
Okay,
you
I'll
find
definitely
out
have to
these
look her up.
nuns traveled around in a bus, like protesting, you'll be like, okay,
That was pretty cool.
these are
That's
cool
pretty
nuns.
cool.
So, who was your favorite character?
Reverend Mother.
Okay.
Reverend Mother. I always pick the weirdest people to have as like my favorite character, but Reverend Mother was just she was so sassy, and I loved how sassy
Yeah.
she was. I loved her
Yeah.
little snark remarks, and like I loved Dolores. I loved her. She's definitely second favorite. But honestly, just Reverend Mother was just a baddie. Like
Yeah.
I don't relate to her personally because usually I pick the characters I relate to the most. She was just a baddie though. I did get
Yeah.
really sad when she almost resigned or when she did resign and then like took it
Yeah.
back. I did feel so bad, but also like in that case I kind of understand it because she felt like she wasn't needed. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's like a really selfless thing to do. So, although she, as you said, like has a hard exterior as her characters, I think she's very sweet internally and grew to love Dolores, which I thought was like a cute like enemies to friends trope.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think as an adult, I think she's now my favorite, one of my favorite characters. I also like Sister Mary Robert.
Yeah.
She's so meek, but I think that I'm also adding that from the perspective of the second movie. So you'll see her a lot in the second
Yeah.
movie too. Honestly, just everybody is so good in this whole series. And then Whoopi obviously was my favorite character as a kid. Like Dolores was my favorite character, and she just did such a good job. I mean, Whoopi was such a big part of the 90's. So I think, it's hard not to be obsessed with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that, yeah, anyway.
Awesome.
Um, well, we are coming up on a holiday. Do you know what holiday is coming up?
Well, I know we just had Martin Luther King Day. Is Labor Day coming up or something?
No. Labor Day is in September. That is a long way out. We are coming up on Groundhog Day, which is
Oh,
perfect
duh.
because that's the movie we're actually going to be watching this week. You can
Oh,
watch it on Netflix. Groundhog Day is, you can even watch this movie, Groundhog Day, on Groundhog Day, which is February 2nd. And you can watch it over and over and over again, which is a joke that you'll get once you see the movie. So, have you
okay.
seen the movie?
Nope.
Okay.
Haven't even heard of it.
Well, Groundhog Day is a 1993 comedy romance. The synopsis is that it's a cynical TV weatherman finds himself reliving the same day over and over and over again, and he goes on location to this small town of Punxsutawney to film a report about their annual Groundhog Day. His predicament drives him to distraction until he sees a way of turning the situation to his advantage. So, starring in this movie are Bill Murray, who you just saw as himself in Space Jam. You'll know him as Phil in this movie, and he stars opposite Andy McDowell as Rita. Chris Elliott plays Larry, and Stephen Tobolowsky plays Ned. Is what they put in IMDb, and I was like, it's Ned Ryerson. Like when you see the movie, you'll be like, I'm Ned Ryerson. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Interesting.
I can't wait for Punxsutawney Phil to not see his shadow and we can finally have spring because I'm freaking cold today, which is why I'm donning my Richard Scary hat. Um,
It
and
is cold.
well, that's it
Yeah.
for this episode of Millennial Meets Gen Z. Thank you all for listening and maybe singing along with me as we revisited Sister Act. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and find us on Instagram and Facebook for some behind the scenes or clips or photos or episode extras. We'll put up the videos that we talked about. We'll introduce Hannah to the Beatles. Um, and you'll see more from that. But until next time, be kind and rewind.
Thanks for listening, guys.